Good morning. Welcome to Daily Focus. You've probably already seen the title, and I've entitled it, My Body Is Deteriorating. Can you relate? Do you understand what I'm talking about? In other words, the things that I used to do, I don't do them anymore, at least not at the same level nor at the same speed. And most of us we joke about it, but we understand that, boy, these bodies become more and more limited because they're passing away. And when we get to Second Corinthians chapter 5, it really reinforces that fact. Because of that fact, the Bible says that as a Christian acknowledges that, he becomes excited about what is coming. And I really believe that part of the excitement about what we have coming in a new body in heaven is expressed in this gratitude that I have a body that's going to be perfect, and this body that hurts, this body that is weak, this body that is passing away and becoming more frustrating. It's becoming a little bit sometimes fearful and in its limitations. I'm really thankful that I have something more coming. And I think that's part of that whole process. So 2 Corinthians chapter 5, he says, "For we know that if our earthly house of this tabernacle were dissolved," this body, this earthly body that I live in, we know that if it were dissolved, we have a building of God, a house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. Now, I'm not exactly sure what heaven is like before the rapture. I have ideas, and this is a passage that I have used in my own thinking and in my own mind to help me understand it better. But I do not believe that people in heaven are these spirits floating around on clouds. I don't believe that. I don't believe that they turn into angels. There's no scriptural basis for that. But I do believe that this text says that as this body is deteriorating, there is a body in heaven waiting for me that God has specifically designed for heaven. And the context is teaching me it's about what is waiting for me in heaven when this body dissolves, when this body stops working, when this body dies. And so, because verse number 8 is going to say, absent from the body is present with the Lord. In other words, when I leave this body, my last breath here is my first breath in heaven. And I know that to be true because 1 Thessalonians 4 teaches me that at the rapture, when Jesus comes in the clouds, all they that sleep in Jesus will God bring with him. So they're with him, and he brings them with him, and then they receive their glorified bodies. Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. So we get our glorified bodies right after they do. So from the time that I die to the time of the rapture, what is this body like that is in heaven? Well, it only says that it is not able to be man-made, but rather it's made by God, and it's made specifically for heaven. And so the things that we know about heaven is that there's eternal light, there's eternal rest, there's incredible beauty. Those are the things we know to be true about heaven. We know that there's no death. We know there's no dying. We know there's no sickness. We know that none of that stuff is in heaven. And so this body that is made for us in heaven is not subject to all of those things that earth has influenced our bodies with and affected our bodies with. It's a body God made specifically for heaven. And so verse number 2 says, "For in this we groan," in other words, in this body we groan, "earnestly desiring to be clothed upon with our house which is from heaven." as this body deteriorates, we begin to groan, to long for a body that won't wear out, a body that won't die, a body that won't have disease, won't have pain, won't age. We begin to look forward to that body because we're living in the reality of this one, and it's not always all that attractive. So he says in verse 3, if so be that being clothed, we shall not be found naked, so there's never a time you don't have a body. So you go from this body immediately to the body in heaven. For we that are in this tabernacle do groan, being burdened, not for that we would be unclothed, but clothed upon with mortality, that mortality might be swallowed up of life. So here's the picture. We're not looking for the first ticket out. People are not looking to die just to get to heaven and get a new body. While we're living in this body, we recognize the mortality of it, the harsh reality of the fact that it's deteriorating and will eventually die and wear out. But we're not looking for the first ticket out, but we do recognize that. And then he says, the one who has prepared us for this time of transition, not only the time that we're here in this body, in this wearing out body, is God. He's prepared us for this reality, and he's prepared us for the truth that we have something great waiting for us. And then he says, we walk by faith, not by sight. In other words, we believe these things because God has said them. And then we get to verse number 8, where the Bible says, we are confident, I say, and willing rather, to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. And that is an amazing truth. And so we could be depressed and we could weep over the fact that my body is deteriorating. But I'm not going to do that because I know God has prepared me for the reality of a deteriorating body. But he's also taught me of what I have coming, and that is a body he's made for heaven that is going to be amazing, and it's not going to be affected or influenced by the sinfulness and the effects of sin that I have to deal with here. And what a day that will be. I hope that's a help to you. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow, and God